Well, thank you very much indeed. This is Five Lives, 237. Now, on today's programme, Robert Pattinson and David Cronenberg, because they both star and direct in Cosmopolis. Here's a clip.
Any special reason we're in the car instead of the office? What makes you think we're in the car instead of the office? If I answer that question, based on what premise? I know I'll say something that's halfway clever, but mostly shallow, and probably inaccurate on some level. And then you will pity me for having been born. We're in the car because I need a haircut. So have the barber go to the office, get your haircut there. Or have the barber come to your car, just get your haircut and go to the office. A haircut has what? Associations. Calendar on the wall, mirrors everywhere. There's no barber here, nothing swivels but the cherry urine shiner.
And that's a clip from Cosmopolis. It's the new David Cronenberg film. It stars Robert Pattinson, and I'm delighted to say that David, Robert, Mark and I are in a very swish hotel drinking coffee and water. David, Robert, good afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Robert has already been complaining that he hasn't got enough reverb on his microphone.
Yeah.
How would you like to sound, Robert, for the purposes of this interview?
I just want to sound sexy, and I know at some point I'm going to try and drink this coffee and spill it on the mic.
And we're all waiting eagerly for that moment.
I've already
really great laugh at your expense, as always on the set. You're always doing that.
I'd just like to point out that since you always give me a hard time about complaining that my microphone isn't as big as yours, that Mr. Pattinson has now led the way in microphone envy. So I'm in good company.
Well, he was talking about a local radio interview where they gave him reverb.
That's right.
A local radio.
I think you'll find it is like that. So what we've done, David, is because obviously the film stars Robert and he's in his limousine and the traffic is terrible forever. We've arranged as a special promo for your film.
Yes, it's called
terrible
Queen's
traffic
Jubilee,
all over London.
A treat because the traffic was hideous coming in here.
Explain the world of Cosmopolis for us, David, and where the film takes us.
Well, the film takes place in New York City. It is kind of a road movie, the road being 47th Street, a very ordinary road in Manhattan, and Rob's character, Eric Packer, is a billionaire who is traveling in his very special limo from the east side of Manhattan to the west side along that street in order to get a haircut. And that is the plot of the movie. I know, it's dead silence follows.
Well, I was just leaving a moment there for people who haven't seen the film and haven't read the book, thinking, that's not much of a plot.
It's not much of a plot, really, and we've kind of not made much of it, actually. No, it's actually, of course, it's actually a wonderful plot because all kinds of things happen in and out of the limo along the way, and the destination has quite a lot of resonance for the character, which we don't realize until later in the movie. So it's actually pretty neat, and it's one of the things that attracted me to the book was that rigorousness, that sort of incredibly ironclad kind of structure.
So, Robert, explain Eric Packer, the kind of guy he is, and why he needs this haircut. Not that he does, obviously,
it was the interesting doing an interview on local radio. I could just lie, which is what I just did. I was like,
"What did you tell them?"
It's a mix between Showgirls. It's basically Reservoir Dogs in a limousine. It was really fun to promote it, but now I have to do serious things.
Well, you just have to answer the question.
I know.
You just covertly said that this isn't fun. That's what I was picking up.
No, literally, as soon as I'm sitting next to David, I've got to, I'm nervous about giving a proper answer. It's an incredibly difficult character to explain because it's on the surface not even a real human being. I mean, he's the first time you read it. I mean, especially in the book as well. God, I'm all over the place. David's going to be better at doing this. I've been speaking like an idiot for weeks now.
Yeah, but you've been speaking like an idiot on local radio. Now you need to speak like an idiot to the nation. Up the game.
He's kind of a ghost. He's kind of the world has become such an abstraction. Everything has become an abstraction to him, including his own body and his own life and death. But I don't know if that really explains anything to anyone unless they've
Shall we quote St. Augustine here? Because he is quoted in the movie by the Paul Giamatti character, the character Paul plays, and he says, "I have become an enigma to myself, and therein lies my sickness." And that actually is the character. But I didn't realize it until you said this, Rob. You've illuminated the whole movie for me. That I never did understand that part of the movie, and now I get it. It's because of you.
Can I ask you something about working with David Cronenberg? I mean, I'm at least twice your age, and I've grown up with Mr. Cronenberg's movies. I'm a huge fan. You have a statuette of me on somewhere in your house, which I'm very proud of. And
I put a little dress on it. But
how do I look?
Yeah,
do I look
it's a small, it's a short.
This still looks like Nixon in a dress, right? That's what it looks like. And for me, I remember very clearly the very first time I interviewed you, which I think was around the time of Videodrome, and I was completely starstruck. Firstly, were you a big fan of David Cronenberg's movies beforehand, and can you tell us about working with him? Because clearly you were just saying then, being in the same room as him, I feel like I'm suddenly talking rubbish. And I know that experience very well.
Yeah, especially about this movie. That's why I keep telling everyone, I was like, I don't know what it's about, because I don't want to be judged. No, I don't really think like that at all. It's no, I was a big fan. I heard of Videodrome and Scanners. I had a Scanners poster on my wall when I was younger. But David was one of the people. I mean, when I started acting, I never really even considered getting an opportunity to work with him, and it kind of came totally out of the blue. But it was
scared of that, or
I was scared. I mean, I wasn't so much scared. Working with extremely accomplished filmmakers it's a less scary prospect, I think. It was the script that scared me. I mean, if someone's good and it has a great cast, it makes your job way easier. But the script was very. It's strange. It's extremely wordy. It's in a limousine the whole time. I mean, every single shot of the movie, and I was, before I did Cosmopolis, I was afraid that I was really oversaturated my image everywhere. I was trying to do ensemble things, and trying to do a movie where you're in every scene is kind of nerve-wracking. But I loved the writing so much. I loved the rhythm and just the kind of lyricism of it. And it was one of those scripts which you see, which it's not going to be made. Very, very few things like it are made.
can you describe the rhythm of the writing? Because obviously it's almost Pinteresque in that there are very, very specific pauses. There's silences in the pauses in which we don't hear music, or back then there is, it is a very, very precisely choreographed rhythm of speech.
Yeah, there's I don't know why, but I kind of felt sort of akin to it quite quickly as soon as I read it. I'd never read any DeLillo before, so it was really, really foreign to me and really jarring, especially in the script form. And I remember saying to you that the first conversation, there's a lot of what's in it, but they don't have a question mark at the end, and so. And that was kind of the one thing I was trying to figure out. If you could figure out how to say what, not as a question, then you kind of figured out the tone of it. And that was the one thing I was trying to...
This was a problem? What?
Yeah.
Why did you want Robert?
I didn't want Robert, but everybody else did. And also his agents promised me a lot of private money if I went with him. And I also like to say he was cheap and available. All of those things are true. But in fact, no. I mean, really, it starts with the logical stuff. How old is the character? And does an actor have the charisma and the presence to be in every scene in the movie and not bore you, and that you want to see him, you still want to see him, and so on like that. And then it has to be somebody who can do a good New York accent. And by the way, Amy Taubman, who's a well-known critic who used to write for the Village Voice and writes for film comment, said that your accent was from like a certain street in Queens, and she recognized it. And she also said that it was very close to Don DeLillo's own accent. And I thought, could he have done that? Could Rob have really managed that? But we knew but it was a very specific New York accent that we wanted. There was much discussion with our dialect guy who helped Rob finesse that, about all of that. And it's interesting when I read reviews and people talking about Rob's performance, they just sort of take it for granted that he can do this, but that's not easy to do. It's actually quite difficult.
So how daunting a role was it when you were sent the script, and you want to make some considered and careful choices as to the movies that you do next? What did you think? Did you fret about it?
Yeah, no, I really wanted to do. I mean, I got the call. I was shooting the last Twilight movie, and had about 3 weeks
I've seen you
left.
somewhere before.
And yeah, and I got the call saying, and I'd read the script about a year before, and so I liked it already, and I went back to reread it. And I remember going back that night, knowing that I had the offer for it, and thinking, oh, I'm so excited. Started reading it, and I was like, God, this is impossible. And I just remember the first thing I wanted to ask was just like, what? Same reason, same as every other interviewer saying, like, "Why did you cast him?" I was like, "Why? What did you see? What are you thinking?" It kind of, yeah, my own self-doubts almost consumed me, and so I had to wait for a week. And I don't think probably very many people. I know you're telling me about Vigo and Dangerous Method, but I don't think that many people would say that I need to think about a script like this. But yeah, I really had to, and I spent a week thinking, how can I say no?
You thought about turning it down?
Yeah, I mean, I realized as I kept putting it off, I was thinking, I'm gonna have to call up David and say that I don't think I'm good enough and I'm a pussy, and I just didn't want to make that phone call. I mean, as soon as we went into it, as soon as we started shooting, it was easy. I mean, it was not hard at all. I mean, the rhythm came.
Yeah, I had to figure out why Rob was hesitating, because was it just self-doubt, or was there something in it that bothered him or intimidated him, or sometimes you find that with actors there's one specific scene they don't really want to tell you that it's the scene where they take their clothes off and bend over or something like that.
It was the first line.
Yeah, and with him it was like the first line,
which is,
I want a haircut, which is the whole plot. And I still think that's my worst delivery in the whole movie.
we could have looped it. In fact, we did loop it.
We did still hate it.
There is a very famous story that Nick Rowe cast David Bowie in The Man Who Fell to Earth because he'd seen him in a documentary in a limousine looking at the world through closed windows, and said he understands what that looks like. Now, obviously, with the madness of the Twilight films, the huge popularity of them, you must have had some experience of that world, of being, you know, did that add anything to performing in Cosmopolis?
Maybe. I mean, I kind of the difference. I mean, I guess that is quite frustrating, like in reality. And Eric's not a frustrated person. I mean, he is, but on a much deeper level, and being like, "Oh, it's so unfair." But, I mean, he's not a whinger. So it didn't really affect it. Also, I'm always trying to figure out how not to think about, how not to complain, because everybody hates you as soon as you start complaining about being famous.
But also, Eric Packer in the movie has chosen the limo. He's chosen the life, and he's chosen to Proust it, as we say, to isolate himself, to make the limo silent so that he's disconnected from the life of the city. And so a lot of the difference there is that choice. You know, when an actor suddenly hits with a movie and becomes kind of famous in a hysterical way, it's not exactly a choice. I know that from Vigo and Lord of the Rings as well. It wasn't. That's not the kind of actor he is either. You know, so there is, I think, a real difference between sort of a modern version of celebrity, and in the movie, actually, Eric Packer's not a celebrity. Sure, I mean, he's actually like the London Whale that we're reading about now. He chooses anonymity. He wants to be anonymous. He doesn't want anybody to know what he looks like. You know, that's pretty different.
What about the prescience of the fact that the novel's written pre-crash, but it seems so much to refer to the events of recent years?
Yeah, well, that's an accident, you know, but it's an accident of art. It's what happens. I mean, it's like what people thought that I had done with Videodrome, where I was sort of anticipating interactive TV and the internet and all of that. That's not what you're doing. I mean, your job is not to be a prophet, and believe me, Don DeLillo does not want to be a prophet, but you sometimes inevitably have a clairvoyance, which is what art can be. You know, you've got these antennae that are really sensitive, and you're picking up things that are in the air, but other people are not picking it up. You react to that in your art, and then suddenly you've anticipated all kinds of things as a result. And I think that's what happened with Don. While we were making the movie, we were thinking that you know, the world was just catching up with that novel.
We're out of time. David Cronenberg, Robert Pattinson, we appreciate you speaking to us. Thank you very much indeed. And what we'll do, Robert, is we'll put it, when we play this out, we'll add some
We'll put the sexy
reverb to
button
your
on.
voice. And we'll make you sound really good in local radio.
Can we speed
Could you
it up
give me a
to
little more bass?
Would you like some bass?
So I
Forget
get,
the
I
reverb.
get the bass.
Oh,
I
okay.
get the bass.
Treble?
No,
Can
well,
I
you
have-
have it
How about
mid.
mid-tone?
Mid.
I'll take anything. Any part of the spectrum.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
An excellent squad.